Let's take you to Luthuli House in Johannesburg now, where ANC Secretary-General Fikile Mbalula is detailing their resolutions of the party's 55th National Conference.
National General Councils will focus on key and immediate tasks arising from the National Conference. Resolutions as outlined in the January 8 statement of the NEC, delivered by President Cyril Ramaphosa in Mangaung. And these tasks are fix load shedding and electricity crisis, focus on service delivery, grow jobs and the economy through investment and small business support, deal with crime and corruption, deepen renewal of the ANC and build a better world and Africa. Areas that were discussed at the 55th National Conference cover strategy and tactics, organizational renewal, finance and fundraising, peace and stability, social transformation, arts, culture and heritage, communication and battle of ideas, legislature and governance, economic transformation, education, health and science and technology, as well as international relations. National Conference reaffirmed the ANC's core values and historical mission that places people at the center of the movement's programs. Participation of ANC's alliance partners, COSATU and SACP, and inputs by the ANC Veterans League enriched discussions at the National Conference, as it also informed a range of deliberations that were largely focused on how the ANC should do more, better and faster. Such calls emanate from the acceptance that there is a worrying growing distance between the ANC and society, which needs urgent attention. This input also came from the ANC Youth League and the ANC Women's League and the Progressive Youth Alliance. The 55th National Conference directed ANC branches, leaders and deployees to actively work with and for the people. When a crisis, disaster or service issues arises, ANC must mobilize all relevant resources of government and community to assist. Where ANC governs, the movement must be practical, focused on delivery and accountable to our communities. There must be rigorous and regularly monitoring and reporting on performance, which should inform the deployment of ANC's best leaders and most competent cadres. Frank and open discussions of the National Conference interrogated the state of the ANC. In this assessment, particular attention was paid to the ANC's ability to mobilize society around its historic mission, such as being the ANC serving as a vehicle that drives the program of a non-racial, non-sexist and democratic society that is free from all forms of discrimination. In regard to challenges in the economy, the ANC's goal and commitment is to realize economic growth that is inclusive and create jobs. There must be mobilization of social partners around economic reconstruction and recovery, a program that is well underway and being undertaken by our government through NEDLEC. When advancing this course, focus should be on young people and how to get South Africa working. In its deliberations, the National Conference appreciated that the ANC is a self-correcting and learning organization whose failures and achievements both offer an opportunity to reconnect with our base by accelerating service delivery. This report and resolutions of the National Conference will be distributed through hard copies to all the structures and members of the media, and will also be on all our digital platforms. I don't know, Mahlenge will speak as to when will that happen, but from this weekend, in all 54 regions of the ANC, we will be engaging with our structures and as well taking them on board on a whole lot of issues and decisions that have been taken by the National Executive Committee since December to date. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, SG. May I at this point then just open it up for a quick engagement with yourselves, media colleagues. May I start with my sister over here, and then I will turn to the back in that order. And come to the front. Let's get started here, and then I will come for a second round of questions for colleagues that have raised their hands this side.
Okay, thank you, Sis Mahlengi. It's Kelly Mapanga from SABC News. On migration issues, it's clear that the migration policy framework has been adopted. We've seen in the current events that the Minister of Home Affairs has made efforts to, tackle this issue of illegal migration, but there's been a conflict with the current legislation and how to measure up against the Constitution. It's become quite evident in the cases of Mr. Shibo, the Ethiopian migrant that crossed through the Zimbabwean border, as well as this matter now with the Afghan nationals, that the conflict may arise in the Constitution and those fundamental human rights that are enshrined in that Constitution. Is the ANC looking at perhaps amending the Constitution to deal with this issue?
Thank you very much, Kendi. And that is then, shall I then turn to you? Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Abongile Tumako, SABC News. Mhlakazi Mbalula, with regards to the meetings, the regional meetings you spoke about when you started, my understanding is that they will be, I'm here in Gwelka. They will be deliberating on the very, resolutions report, and you're saying it's yet to be published. Timelines, you said we're going to get to Sis Mahlengi. So, in the case that the copies or the online publications didn't happen, does that mean meetings might not take place until there's a physical, copy of this report? That's number one. Number two, I'm having a letter here with me that comes from Eguruleni, Ward 16, Kempton Park. They are raising quite serious concerns. It's addressed to the president of the party, and of course, you are copied. They're saying that there are negotiations, if you like, between the PEC, the REC there in Eguruleni and EFF there's counter-revolution discussions taking place to have a coalition in Eguruleni, and they are complaining about the fact that it's not done in accordance to ANC guidelines. It seems that people are doing as they please in that region. Your response to that? Ngosi.
Thank you very much. Shall we then turn to yourself over there? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Kosnathi Shazi from Power FM News. On page 22, the ANC says that the revival of the ANC Youth League remains critical. So just a couple of kilometers away, there are WITS protests, the university protest over financial exclusion, and this seems to become a perennial issue since the 2015 fees must fall. So my question is, number one, the role of the Youth League, should they be championing these issues, considering that next year is the elections and they need to be the bridge between e-youth and the ANC? So my question is, who should be championing these issues? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to stay with that first round of questions and invite the SG to reflect. But just on the technical matter, because I think it's a technical matter, of the dissemination of our report and our resolutions, today we are officially releasing them, to society, to our members. And so there will be copies. Every deployee of the ANC, all NEC, 87 members of the NEC on different dates would be having sight of this, and our members on the ground will also be having sight of the same document in digital as well as print form. I wanted to just dispense with that one, SG. Thank you very much.
You can give more so that we move faster.
Okay, so shall we then take, in that order, then actually reduces the number of questions, so hopefully we've dispensed with that issue about the availability of this report to both society and to our structures. We'll then turn to Goge, I saw another hand this side. Oh, Govern, and then there's a hand. There was another hand. Correct me? Yes, thank you.
Usipamandla Koke from ENCA. You resolve that on the issue of the bucket system, which is page 46 of your report, if I'm not mistaken, that the ANC is reiterating its call to eradicate the bucket system. Your successive administrations have dismally failed to do so. They failed to meet the 2015-2016 deadline. Last year, former Minister of Water and Sanitation, Minister Lindiwe Sisulu, said by 2022, in the Free State in particular, where you come from, Mr. Secretary-General, the bucket system would have been eradicated. That is not the case. How do you plan to deal with this failure by the ANC-led administration that continues to violate the dignity and human rights of those who continue to use the bucket system? Are you not ashamed of the fact that we have failed? Let's talk about the issue of the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. The tone seems to change in your resolution. You characterize this as a war between the USA, US-led NATO, and Russia. Is that the new position of the ANC in this regard? And what do you make of a proposal and a submission in the US to say there needs to be a review of relations between South Africa and the United States of America? And I will come back to the third one if we still have time, or must I continue? On the basic income grant, you propose that the social relief grant, that is the 350 rands, must be maintained and improved up until a sustainable, affordable way of this basic income grant is found. What do you mean by that? When are you going to finalize this matter as the ANC-led government?
Thank you very much, Koke. Govern?
Good afternoon. My name is Govin Whittles from Newsroom Africa, Channel 405. Does the ANC want people to be disqualified from getting citizenship in South Africa if through marriage? Mr. Secretary-General, could you confirm that the President is ill and that's why he's postponed the cabinet reshuffle? Could you tell us what the ANC prefers in a cabinet reshuffle, the filling of vacancies or wholesale changes? An overhaul, so to speak. The ANC reported getting 15 million rand from United Manganese, partly owned by Russian billionaire. You see no problem in accepting funds from United Manganese, considering your attempt to remain neutral in your views towards the conflict in Ukraine? And then you've resolved that the budgets for the police, the Justice Department, and state security shouldn't be lowered again moving forward. Has that reached the government already, or is that the next financial year? Thank you.
Just a reiteration of your very last question, just for my own notes, Govern.
Sure, I can try to find it here, I suppose. I don't think I will. In the resolutions, there's a resolution here that the budgets of the security cluster departments should not be diminished going forward. Is that resolution implemented in this financial year or the next? Or is there still debate about whether it will be implemented? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. The very last colleague, this side. I just want to check if we have any other questions. Okay. So it will be yourself, and then I will end there with Naki.
Raymond from Network 24. I'm still reading through this document, but what was the resolve regarding the castration of rapists? Did it come up, and what was the resolve? The castration of rapists. I remember that was a talking point. Castration of rapists.
Castration?
Yes.
Okay.
And then lastly, did the ANC follow through with the threat regarding Andre de Ruyter if he doesn't go and lay charges in 7 days? What is the latest regarding that?
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's then turn over to Eric over there.
Thank you very much. My name is Eric Naki from The Citizen. I would like to know regarding the suggestion that you need to explore the implementation of the wealth tax. Wealth tax, what are the details and how are you planning to implement the wealth tax? Thank you.
Thank you very much. With that, having been asked, let me invite you, SG.
Kenny, do we look at amending the Constitution? No, not at all. We're going to formulate a program of action on how some of these resolutions are going to be implemented in the short term and the long term, and the legislative implications for the implementation of some of the resolutions that we have actually taken. In terms of Matlenge has answered the question of how the distribution is going to happen. Obviously, it's going to be in all digital platforms, WhatsApp groups and everywhere else. And then we are also going to have a series of discussions on these resolutions with experts and everyone else and the chairs of our committees to elaborate further on the implementation of these resolutions. It's not just going to be resolutions that gather paper, but as we release them, they also give you enough opportunity to peruse, to have enough time to question, and also clarify how the ANC is going to implement some of the resolutions that it has taken. So that is the process we are going to follow. So tomorrow, briefing with our structures, and Sunday this weekend, it's an internal engagement with the structures, not taking them through the report of the conference, but also contemporary issues that have arisen. That is our approach, internal approaches, the ANC, to close the gap between national leadership and branches and structures, so that our membership and structures don't relate to issues through newspaper reports, because newspaper reports are not comprehensive. They don't give context. Some of them are just news bites, and there is no context. So the interaction with the structures on these matters enable the leadership of the ANC to take structures on board on some of these issues, and the issues that structures themselves are interested in, because ANC gets questioned, engaged on the ground on a whole range of issues, on load shedding and all of that, and our structures need to be well armed to understand how we are actually going to be dealing with those issues. We have a big discussion now in terms of coalitions that we are implementing. David Makura, who's leading political education, is heading the committee on coalitions, and then is going to be supported by Tembing Kadimeng, legislative and governance, as well as local government intervention, Pakstau. They convene, the two subcommittees support Makura, but they are going back to look at coalitions, how we are performing, what is the state of the coalitions in the country, and what are the strategic choices we are making. And then that discussion will come to a special National Executive Committee in the next coming weeks, and then thereafter it will inform the ANC approach going forward. Our structures have been involved in discussions with other political parties, in forming coalitions in most of the local municipalities, and we'll look into those agreements that have been reached. And then we always believe that at an ideological level, we work with everybody who's on the left, and some of them might be to the extreme, but we don't work with the right. That's all our can characterize that engagement. And some of the coalitions have not been quite stable, and that is the report that we'll look at in detail. So our teams are working on this. They are almost done with that particular report. So that will feature Ekurhuleni. There is nothing that is happening in this country about discussions on coalitions that we are not aware of. We are aware of what is happening in Gauteng, in KwaZulu-Natal, and elsewhere, Western Cape, Northwest, and so on. So we'll compile that report, and we then table to the National Executive Committee. We have never had so many hung municipalities in the country. It's the first time that we have these hung municipalities. So our discussion on coalitions will look into the state of coalitions in the Republic of South Africa. Yes, the issues of student financial exclusions is not only, as much as a perennial issue, like you said, it's not exclusively a youth matter. It's a question that the ANC Health Subcommittee need to look at in terms of financial exclusions. It's very much important to deal with that. Why do we have financial exclusions when we spend billions of rands on educating the poor? And we still have, from the days of Mahlengi's intervention at TEFSA, when he was General Secretary of the biggest student congress in the country. There was TEFSA, and then came NSFAS. NSFAS has now been changed, modified in terms of policy to help the poor. We need to analyze why financial exclusions. Because students must understand that you go to school to pass, to open up a space for the next poor child to come in. But you can't be kept on the queue if you are underperforming and want to use politics to justify failure in the institutions. So we need to look into that. Our education subcommittee must look into that. And I know Minister Nzimande, together with the Alliance and everybody else, will be bringing a report to us very soon.
All right, the Secretary-General of the ANC just giving the nation an update as the governing party exactly what resolutions they took after their 55th National Elective Conference last year.